Have you ever just looked at a giant tree and thought, how? How does a tiny seed grow into this massive, gravity-defying structure? Well, today we're going to uncover the secret architecture behind these natural skyscrapers, the amazing plant cell wall.
I mean, it's a fascinating question, right? Animals have bones, muscles, skeletons, the whole works. But you don't see any 300-foot-tall giraffes walking around. The answer isn't something you can see with your own eyes. It's hidden deep down, at the cellular level.
And boom, here it is. This is the big reveal. On one side, you have our flexible, kind of squishy animal cells. But on the other side, plant cells have this extra rigid outer layer, the cell wall. Now, this isn't just a minor detail. No way. This is the architectural secret to everything a plant is and does.
So this wall is so much more than just a barrier. You can think of it as the cell's Swiss Army knife. It's an active, multitasking structure that's absolutely essential for the plant's survival. So let's break down its most important jobs.
First off, it's a suit of armor, protecting the cell from physical stress and pathogens. It also provides a fixed geometric shape, like the steel frame of a building. And this is super important. It acts like a pressure vessel, so when the cell fills up with water, it doesn't just burst. And finally, when you add up the strength of billions of these little walls, you get the incredible support needed to hold a whole plant up against gravity.
To really understand how it does all this, we need to put on our architect hats for a minute. We're going to go on a little tour, peeling back the layers of the cell wall from the very outside and working our way in.
The first thing we find, sitting right between two neighboring cells, is the middle lamella. The best way to think about this is cellular cement. It's the sticky layer made mostly of pectin that literally glues cells together, creating one big, cohesive tissue.
Okay, moving one layer deeper, we hit the primary wall. This is the first real wall the cell builds for itself, especially when it's young and still growing. Now here's the puzzle, right? It has to be strong, but it also has to be flexible enough to stretch as the cell gets bigger. So how in the world does it do both? Well, the secret is just brilliant engineering. The wall is built with these super strong cables called cellulose microfibrils, and they're arranged in this clever crisscross pattern. This design gives it amazing strength in all directions, while still allowing the whole thing to stretch and expand. It's the best of both worlds.
But what happens when the cell is all done growing? That's when some cells add a final layer of heavy-duty reinforcement, the secondary wall. It forms inside the primary wall, and this thing is incredibly thick and rigid. This is where a plant gets its most serious, hardcore structural support.
But there's a trade-off for this kind of ultimate strength, and it's a big one. The secondary wall is so thick that it basically seals the cell off. The cell dies, leaving behind its super strong wall. When you have millions of these dead cell skeletons packed together, you get wood. Yep, the very stuff we used to build homes and make furniture. It's amazing to think about.
So let's do a quick recap of our tour. On the very outside, you have the middle lamella. That's the glue. Moving inward, you get the primary wall, which is the flexible framework for growth. And then, in some mature cells, you find that tough secondary wall on the inside, providing rigid, maximum support.
We've talked about cellulose and this other stuff called lignin, but let's take a closer look at these two key players. Their molecular properties are really the secret sauce that makes the whole structure work. A perfect way to think about this is like reinforced concrete. The cellulose microfibrils are like the steel rebar. They provide incredible tensile strength, which means you can't pull them apart easily. Then lignin is like the concrete that gets poured in. It's a hard polymer that provides compression strength, so the structure can't be crushed. Together, you get something that's ridiculously strong.
Now, you'd think with this thick, multi-layered wall, it must be a pretty strict gatekeeper, right? Carefully controlling everything that gets in and out of the cell. But is that really what's happening?
And the answer is nope. Surprisingly, the cell wall is fully permeable. It's porous, more like a strong wicker basket than a solid barrier. Water and other small molecules can pass right through it. The real bouncer at the club is the plasma membrane, which lies just inside the wall. The wall is all about structure, not selection.
Okay, let's zoom all the way back out. We've been deep in the weeds, looking at the microscopic architecture. How does all this connect back to that giant tree we started with? And here's where it all comes together so beautifully. The immense gravity-defying strength of a towering tree isn't from one single structure. It is the combined strength of billions upon billions of these tiny cell walls, each one perfectly engineered and locked together. It's a true masterpiece of bottom-up design.
So just think about that. The power of an entire forest starts with an intricate wall you can't even see. It really makes you wonder, what other powerful, invisible structures are out there, shaping the world all around us?